There's a mansion in one of the most expensive parts of Beverly Hills. Like, we're talking in the middle of the 90210 zip code that has been completely taken over by squatters.
Squatters have turned a mansion into a party house.
The neighborhood is home to several high-profile celebrities.
Some Beverly Crest residents tell us that they are being kept up at all hours of the night and fearing for their safety.
The home is actually currently listed for sale. They're asking $4.6 million. And now with these squatters, the real estate agent isn't even able to get inside to do showings and do what he needs to do to sell the place.
I was selling this house and I came up here when the pool man called me and he said, people are moving in. Do you still need me?
Woodward says he came up to the property to find that the locks and gate code had been changed and people illegally living in the home.
When I first saw this story, I was kind of like, okay, this is an interesting story, but I'm not sure that I'm going to be able to make a full YouTube video out of it. But then I asked myself the question, who is the owner of this house and how did they let this whole squatter situation happen to begin with? That's when things took a really dark turn after I realized the owner of this mansion fled the country to Lebanon after he defrauded Medicare for millions of dollars, allegedly, and he was accused of hiring a hitman to kill his ex-girlfriend. Oh boy, this story is beyond insane. Like, I really cannot believe just how twisted everything got. This is gonna be a lot to unpack. Let's dive into it. So first, let's just focus on the story of the house itself and what's going on with this whole squatter situation. The mansion in question is located at 1316 Beverly Grove Place in the Beverly Crest neighborhood of Beverly Hills. That's a lot of Beverlys. This is one of the most ritzy and exclusive parts of Beverly Hills that you can live. Like, John Legend has a house in here. Seth MacFarlane has a home in here. Drake's $70 million mansion is in this neighborhood. And we've got LeBron James and his $100 million compound. He's building this place for himself literally just 2 doors down. So yeah, this is not exactly the neighborhood that you would expect a bunch of squatters to infiltrate. I mean, a lot of these neighbors are high profile people. They're very particular people, and many of them have armed security guards. Let's just put it this way. If I was looking to squat, I don't think I'd pick a house this in the Beverly Crest neighborhood. The mansion has been vacant since 2013. Yes, 2013. That's almost 10 years ago. And with it sitting vacant this long, somebody decided that it would be a good idea to draft a fake lease, move into the mansion, and then start throwing rager parties here several times per week.
Condoms and drug paraphernalia litter Beverly Grove Place outside a party house located on the border of Beverly Hills and Bel Air.
Neighbors say the parties often start at 2 a.m. and go 8-9 hours.
They're showing up at 2 and 3 in the morning with loud cars, motorcycles, Ubers.
Now we've got a handful of fake tenants who live at this mansion, and they're inviting a bunch of people over to party here all the time. Parties got so big that at one point, these squatters were actually charging a $75 admission to people who showed up. The police were called out a bunch, but it sounds like for the past couple of months, they didn't do more than just kick everybody out of the house. The other day, though, the police responded to a burglary call here.
Massive police response this afternoon at a multi-million-dollar mansion in Beverly Crest.
By air and on the ground, an army of LAPD officers swarmed a mansion overlooking Beverly Hills following some type of emergency call.
This was around 3 p.m. and several suspects supposedly entered this home, and at least one of them was armed with a knife. It's hard telling if a real burglary happened here or if maybe one of those neighbors just got smart and realized that if they reported a burglary to the police instead of just a party, that maybe the police would pay closer attention. Now, if there's a house that's in your neighborhood that's filled with squatters, of course, you have the one option to go to the cops, but another option would have been to just go directly to the owner because the owner probably doesn't want squatters living in their house. Here's the thing though, the home was owned by a guy named Dr. Munir Uwaida, but he abandoned the place and fled the country around 2013. After he fled, the bank took over and repossessed the property, presumably because Dr. Uwaida had a mortgage that he stopped paying. Fast forwarding to current records, according to NBC, MDRCA Properties LLC is showing as the current owner, and their business was showing active as of the last report. But this entity also filed for bankruptcy in December of 2023, so that complicates things even more. Then we've got this other guy named Jeff Scappa who claims he's the current lender for the property, and he's very frustrated by the squatters. He told ABC7 that we've got to make some changes in this city because this kind of squatter situation can just happen to anybody. Here's the icing on the cake though when we're trying to figure out like who owns this place. After that big police raid that we just talked about, some dude named Mr. Gucci approached the police and basically just said, hey guys, I'm sorry for everything that's been happening, but don't worry, I've got this whole thing handled from this point forward.
We caught up with one man at the front gate who says he is Mr. Gucci.
My lawyer told me not to comment. I apologize, but I wish that you guys would just leave these people alone.
Now I'm gonna be honest guys, after all of that, I really could not figure out who the actual current owner of this house is. Like, where's the money even going to go when this place eventually sells? The money situation will probably all be handled by the bankruptcy court, but what I do want to go back to is to the last known individual who definitely did own this place and live here, and that is Dr. Uwaida. There are so many layers to this, but just to keep it simple, there are 4 people who are linked to the craziest part of this whole story. We've got Dr. Munir Uwaida, who owned the Beverly Hills mansion. He was an orthopedic surgeon in LA. Dr. Uwaida had an office manager named Kelly Sue Park. He worked very closely with Kelly and he paid her very, very well. Remember that, he paid this manager very well. Not long after he started his practice in 2007, Dr. Uwaida started dating a 21-year-old student and model named Juliana Redding. Then the last key person in the mix, we have Greg Redding. This was Juliana's father. He was a pharmacist out of Arizona that Dr. Uwaida was really eager to get in business with, presumably to impress his girlfriend Juliana. I know this isn't a murder mystery channel, so I'm just gonna kind of skim through the highlights of this part of the story, but you guys are not going to believe the timeline of this doctor's life before he ultimately fled the country. In 2007, Dr. Uwaida met Juliana Redding when she was a server at a restaurant. He offered her a job, which she took, and they almost immediately started dating. Apparently, Dr. Uwaida was completely obsessed with Juliana. Like, he would take her everywhere, he would buy her a bunch of stuff. She actually moved into this Beverly Hills house with him. Things were going pretty well in this relationship, but by late 2007, Juliana found out that Dr. Uwaida was actually married. His wife was in Lebanon, and they had 3 children together. He had been keeping this whole wife and kids thing a secret, so naturally, Juliana was very upset learning this news, and she broke up with him. A few months later, in early 2008, Dr. Uwaida seemed desperate to get Juliana back. He ended up offering her dad a job with a $400,000 salary. The doc did all of this crazy stuff to impress Juliana's dad. Like, he flew him out to Vegas to go to a Mayweather fight one time, and he kept telling him stuff like, hey, if you come out to California and work for me, I'm gonna change your life. I'm gonna pay you all of these bonuses, stuff like that. But by March of 2008, the dad just wasn't feeling it, so he backed off and he basically said, hey, Dr. Uwaida, thanks for the generosity, but I don't want to work with you. 1 week later, in March of 2008, Dr. Uwaida's ex-girlfriend, Juliana Redding, was found murdered in her Santa Monica home. Tragic and, I wonder who did it. Well, I'll let you guys dig into this on your own time if you're interested in all the ins and outs about this part of the story, but let's just put it this way. Remember that manager, Kelly Sue Park, that worked with Dr. Uwaida as his practice manager? Yeah. Her DNA was found all over the crime scene. And not to get too graphic, you guys, but her DNA was found literally everywhere. They found it on the front door, they found it on Juliana's telephone, they found it on the front and back of Juliana's t-shirt, and they even found DNA on her neck where she was strangled. But you might be asking, why would Kelly Sue Park go to Juliana's house and do this to her? Well, your guess is as good as mine, but Dr. Uwaida ended up wiring Kelly Sue Park over $1 million over the course of the 18 months following this murder. I'm no expert, but yeah, kind of seems like he paid her to do it. There's so much more sketch stuff that this guy was allegedly wrapped up in. In 2001, Dr. Uwaida bought a CT scanner for $1 million, got it shipped to Saudi Arabia, never paid for the device, and then he filed for bankruptcy. In 2005, he was convicted of defrauding another medical supply company out of another $1 million. Then by 2009, I think it was, California began proceedings to revoke Dr. Uwaida's license to practice medicine because he was permitting random people from his office to do medical procedures when he was not in the room. Can you imagine? Like, these reports are saying that Dr. Uwaida would literally get these patients under anesthesia, then once they were asleep, he would bring in a physician's assistant to do his job. Like, what? In 2015, he was named the ringleader in a $150 million insurance scam along with 14 other associates. You guys get the point. This dude had a lifetime full of run-ins with the law, allegedly. He's not in prison though. He's long gone. Dr. Uwaida's business is permanently closed, and reports say that he fled the country right around when that last batch of legal drama happened, and he hasn't been seen since. Unbelievable. Let's get back to talking about the house. So here's the Zillow listing. Like I said, this place is for sale. They're asking $4.6 million for the place. It is a 4-bedroom, 7-bathroom, 5,900 square foot house. The description calls it an exquisite Mediterranean estate nestled on a cul-de-sac with panoramic city views. And here it says it's only 10 days on Zillow, but this place was actually listed quite a while ago. The original listing was in July of 2023. They've dropped the price a couple times since then. So pulling up the photos, this is what you actually see from the street. So not gonna lie, it'd be kind of tough to get into this place if you're just like coming over for a house party. Once you open that gate, I guess you've got this long driveway that kind of takes you up to the garage. Inside is nice. Here's the living room. It's a little dated, but it's not bad. Here's the kitchen. Looks like you've got 2 islands in here. Check it out. From this angle of the kitchen, it looks like that TV has got like at least 20 security cameras. Who's watching these cameras when these parties are happening? They've got a pool table instead of a dining room table. Nice little courtyard with this fountain. Some random bathroom. Not gonna lie, I've kind of always hated these like tile mosaics. Huge master bedroom with a fireplace and a balcony. We've got another pool table. Then here's the pool area. So it looks like a great place for a house party, I guess. If you're a bunch of kids, you've got the pool, a couple balconies. They're probably jumping off the balcony here into the pool. You've got a few beer taps over here in the corner, it looks like. But any more recent photos I saw of this area from those like police reports or whatever, the pool was disgusting. It was like full of trash and green. And then here's those views that they were talking about. Honestly, not the greatest views, at least from this perspective, but the value in this house is definitely in the location more than anything else. Now, all these kids were living in this mansion because they basically just moved in and kind of claimed it as their territory. But my next question was, are you really allowed to just move into some random house and claim squatters' rights and then nobody's allowed to kick you out? Well, I know this place is in California, which is generally considered quite a bit more tenant-friendly, but I was surprised to learn that California actually has laws in place to protect property from squatters. The laws allow a property owner to evict or remove squatters from their building because squatters don't have any legal right to occupy an uninhabited property. Apparently, the way to evict a squatter in California is as simple as serving the squatter a formal eviction notice, which requires them to leave in 3 days. Then if they refuse to leave after those 3 days, the owner does need to go through some painful and probably annoying steps, but it sounds like they'll be able to get the squatter out within around a month or 2. I think the issue with this Beverly Hills property is, like we discovered earlier, it's not crystal clear who the owner even is here. So the neighbors were all annoyed about these squatters, so they called the cops, but technically the cops can't really do anything about squatters. If the neighbors were able to get in touch with the owner, then they could have maybe had the owner initiate that eviction process. Next steps from here aren't super clear, but since those squatters appear to be gone, I think the realtor is going to have a better shot at actually selling this place. He might have had a hard time selling it up until now, but this home is one of the most affordable homes in the area by far. The best path for this property is to probably buy the house, tear it down, build a nice new property in its place. The neighborhood can definitely support that. Let me know what you guys think about this crazy story down in the comments. And also remember, if you're not already subscribed, but you like real estate news like this, make sure you hit subscribe before you go. I'll see you guys next time.